3 years ago, I entered a contract marriage with the Ice Queen CEO, Blair Sterling, to solve an urgent problem. I thought it would expire quietly, but she cornered me in her office. You want a divorce? Over my dead body. Now she proclaims her ownership daily. You can only be mine. She sends me luxury cars, lavish homes, and even transfers company shares. What's crazier is that other female CEOs are pursuing me, showering me with gifts and attention. How am I supposed to handle this sweet burden? My name is Ethan Miller. I'm 27 years old. 3 years ago, due to an unexpected situation, I signed a marriage contract with Blair Sterling, a woman I'd never met. It was a marriage in name only, more like a cold, hard agreement. It was all spelled out in black and white. 3 years, a mutually beneficial arrangement. I needed money, desperately. She, on the other hand, needed a nominal husband to appease her family's incessant pressure. Now, the 3 years were up. I clutched the slightly worn agreement in my hand and arrived promptly at Blair Sterling's office at Sterling Enterprises. I was ready to put an end to our marriage in name only. Sunlight streamed through the enormous floor-to-ceiling windows, reflecting off the polished marble floors. The air was thick with the scent of expensive essential oils. She sat in her oversized executive chair, her back to me, gazing out at the bustling city below. Even from behind, she exuded an aura of untouchable coolness. You're here. Her voice came, flat and devoid of emotion. I took a deep breath and walked to her desk, placing the agreement gently on the surface. Blair, the 3 years are up. As per our agreement, let's proceed with the divorce paperwork. She slowly turned. Today, she wore a sharp white pantsuit, her long hair swept up, revealing her slender, elegant neck. Her exquisite face held those cool, clear eyes, hiding a complexity I couldn't decipher. She didn't glance at the agreement. Instead, her gaze fixed entirely on me. What if I said? She began, her red lips barely parting. Her voice was soft, yet it carried an undeniable force. I disagree. I froze, almost thinking I'd misheard her. Blair, what did you say? She rose, her heels clicking crisply on the floor as she walked towards me. A powerful presence emanated from her, pressing down on me. She stopped when only a step separated us, looking up at me. Her beautiful eyes clearly reflected my stunned expression. I said, I'm not agreeing to a divorce. Each word was uttered slowly, distinctly. Ethan Miller, this marriage? I'm not ending it. I instinctively took half a step back, my mind a whirl. This wasn't what we'd agreed to 3 years ago. It wasn't what was written in the contract. Why? The agreement, clearly. She cut me off before I could finish. Agreements are just paper. People are alive. She tilted her head slightly, a faint, breathtaking smile gracing her lips. I've changed my mind. It was too sudden. I didn't know how to react. Blair, that's not how it works. We had an understanding. Rules? She chuckled softly. Suddenly, she reached out and gently smoothed my shirt collar, which wasn't even disheveled. The gesture was natural, almost intimate, and it made my body instantly stiffen. Here, my word is the rule. Her fingertips were cool, brushing against my neck, sending a shiver down my spine. But I tried to argue. She pulled her hand back, her tone reverting to its usual coolness, but her words were even more shocking. No buts. She paused, her eyes burning into mine, as if declaring an unchallengeable ownership. Ethan Miller, from today on, you're no longer my husband by agreement. She paused again. You are Blair Sterling's rightful, bona fide husband. I was completely dumbfounded. Rightful? Bona fide. I understood each word individually, but coming from her, strung together like that, it felt utterly unreal. For the past 3 years, we'd been cordial but distant. Except for the necessary public appearances where we played the loving couple, we had almost no interaction. She lived in her penthouse. I lived in the guest suite. She was the high-flying CEO. I was just a temporary actor she'd hired. Now the play was over, but the director was saying there was no curtain call, and she wanted to turn the fake into real? This was absurd. Blair, I think we need to calm down and talk this through. I tried to appeal to her reason, but she clearly wasn't having it. I am calm. She turned and walked back to her desk, pulling a velvet box from a drawer. She opened it. Inside wasn't jewelry, but a car key and a key card with the name of a high-end downtown complex. This is the key to the penthouse at the Pinnacle Towers downtown. It's already been transferred to your name. And that new sports car parked downstairs? That's also for you. She pushed the box across the desk to me. From now on, move in with me. I looked at the expensive car key and key card, feeling not joy, but a blaring alarm. Blair, what is this supposed to mean? It means nothing. She sat back in her chair, hands clasped on the desk, resuming her posture as the mastermind CEO. I just want to be good to my husband. Is there a problem with that? She looked into my eyes, her voice holding a subtle hint of possessiveness. Ethan, you've done very well these past 3 years. So well that I've grown accustomed to your presence. So, I've decided to keep you. Forever. I opened my mouth, but my throat felt dry. This is too sudden, You can get used to it slowly, she interrupted, her tone gentle, but implying no refusal. But the matter of divorce? Don't bring it up again. I looked at her, realizing for the first time that this woman wasn't just unyielding in business. In matters of the heart, she seemed equally dominant, and she seemed serious. Just then, a knock sounded on the office door. Her assistant, Kevin, a sharp young woman in professional attire, entered. Blair, Ms. Vance from Vance Holdings is here. She'd like to invite you to dinner tonight. She says she has important business to discuss. As Kevin spoke, her gaze briefly flickered to me, carrying a hint of curiosity and scrutiny. I knew who Ms. Vance was. Chloe Vance, the heiress of Vance Holdings, a similarly young and beautiful CEO. Over the past 3 years, due to business dealings, she hadn't missed an opportunity to get close to Blair. But anyone with eyes could see her intentions weren't purely business. Her attention was more often on me, the shield husband. Every time she saw me, her gaze was excessively enthusiastic. Sure enough, Blair's brow furrowed almost imperceptibly. Tell her I have plans tonight. Kevin looked a little troubled. Blair, Ms. Vance said this collaboration is very important, and she specifically emphasized that she hopes both you and Mr. Miller would grace the occasion. Blair's face instantly chilled a few degrees. She looked at me, her gaze scrutinizing. Are you too close? I quickly shook my head. Not at all. We've only met at a few public events. No way I was messing up the suicide question. While Chloe Vance had indeed slipped me her contact info privately, hinting at more substantial help, I'd ignored it all. Blair stared at me for a few seconds, seemingly judging the truth of my words. Then, she looked back at Kevin, her tone returning to calm, but with a faint hint of sarcasm. Inform Ms. Vance that my husband and I indeed have other arrangements tonight and won't be able to attend. As for the collaboration, she paused, a chilling smile playing on her lips. Have her deal directly with the project department. Such minor matters shouldn't be reported directly to me anymore. Understood, Blair, Kevin replied respectfully, a flicker of understanding in her eyes as she glanced at me before excusing herself. The office was once again just the two of us. The atmosphere was subtly charged. Blair stood, walked to me, and again reached out to smooth a non-existent wrinkle on my collar. The gesture was gentle, yet it carried an air of staking her claim. It seems I'll have to keep a closer eye on my husband. She tilted her head slightly, looking at me, her voice soft but with a stubborn possessiveness. There seem to be quite a few people eyeing you out there. I looked at her exquisite face, so close to mine, and smelled her faint, cool fragrance. My heart inexplicably skipped a beat. I started to explain, but she extended her index finger and gently pressed it against my lips, silencing me. No need to explain. She looked at me, her eyes deep, as if trying to draw me in. I trust you. But her tone shifted, her fingertip pressing slightly harder. Ethan Miller, remember this. You can only be mine. She said the last sentence slowly, clearly. Every word seemed to strike my heart, carrying a hint of sweetness, a hint of dominance, and an undeniable possessiveness. I looked at the unwavering determination in her eyes and suddenly realized something. This 3-year agreement, perhaps from the very beginning, was more than just a contract. At least for her it wasn't. And now, the agreement was over. But she wasn't letting me go. Not only was she not letting me go, she wanted more. She wanted the real complete me. I looked at this beautiful, powerful, and slightly dangerously possessive woman before me. My emotions were a whirlwind. There was shock, helplessness, a struggle, but also a secret, nascent thrill I wouldn't even admit to myself. This marriage game, which began with a contract, seemed to be veering completely off its intended course. And the final say in this game? From the moment she said she wouldn't divorce, it was no longer in my hands. When I walked out of the Sterling Enterprises building, my head was still spinning. The sunlight was a bit blinding, hitting the bustling street. In my hand, I still held the heavy velvet box. The sports car key and key card inside felt like a branding iron, burning a hole in my palm. Blair's last words echoed in my ears. You can only be mine. So domineering, yet so matter-of-fact. As if I were just a prized possession she'd set her sights on, and once she had, there was no letting go. I sighed, rubbing my temples. What a mess. My carefully planned return to single life had vanished in an instant. And, judging by her demeanor, this wasn't a discussion, it was an announcement. Or rather, a verdict. I walked to the curb, about to hail a cab. A red sports car silently glided to a stop in front of me. The window rolled down, revealing a bright, alluring face. It was Chloe Vance. She removed her sunglasses and flashed me a dazzling smile. Mr. Miller, what a coincidence. I saw her overly enthusiastic smile, and my internal alarm bells immediately went off. Just moments ago in the office, Blair had been displeased by her invitation. To run into her downstairs now, this coincidence felt far too deliberate. Ms. Vance, I said, offering a polite but distant nod. Where are you headed? I can give you a ride, she offered, her smile widening. Her gaze lingered on the velvet box in my hand for a moment, a hint of curiosity in her eyes. No need to trouble you, Ms. Vance. I'll just grab a cab. I instinctively try to hide the box behind my back. That motion seemed to pique her interest. Oh, is that for Blair? Her smile deepened. It seems your relationship is really quite strong, then. Her tone carried a subtle hint of probing. I maintained my composure. You're joking, Ms. Vance. I'm not joking at all. She pushed open the car door and stepped out, a new Chanel suit accentuating her graceful figure. She took a few steps closer, and the strong scent of her perfume immediately enveloped me. Mr. Miller, there are actually some things I've been wanting to tell you. She lowered her voice, her eyes holding a suggestive glint. Blair, she's certainly capable, but she's just a bit too cold. She doesn't know how to be considerate. A kind and thoughtful man like you deserves to be cherished by someone better. As she spoke, she pulled a card from her handbag and quickly slipped it into my hand. It wasn't a business card, but a hotel key card. It bore the logo of the city's most luxurious hotel. 8 o'clock tonight. I'll be waiting for you. She winked at me, her smile ambiguous. We can have a good talk. I felt as if I'd been burned and immediately tried to return the key card. Ms. Vance, please show some self-respect. But she stepped back, putting her sunglasses back on. Don't be so quick to refuse, Mr. Miller. Some opportunities, once missed, are gone forever. I believe you'll make a wise choice. With that, she didn't give me another chance to refuse, turned, got in her sports car, started the engine, and drove off without a backward glance. She left me standing there, clutching the burning key card, my face grim. What in the world was going on? One Blair Sterling wasn't enough. Now Chloe Vance was adding to the chaos. I watched the red sports car disappear into traffic, a pounding headache starting. Just as I was about to toss the key card into a nearby trash can, a hand with long, elegant fingers reached out from beside me and, without a word, plucked the key card from my grasp. My heart lurched, and I spun around. Blair Sterling stood beside me. I hadn't even heard her approach. Her face was expressionless, her eyes cold as ice as she stared at the key card. B. Blair. I almost bit my tongue. How was she here? Wasn't she supposed to be in her penthouse office? Blair lifted her eyes, her gaze sweeping over me with sharp intensity. It seems I came down at just the right time. Her voice was calm, yet it was more terrifying than an outburst of anger. It's not what you think, I quickly explained. Chloe Vance practically forced it on me. I was just about to throw it away. Blair didn't speak, merely ran her finger over the key card. Then, to my horror, she lightly folded it. Click! The key card snapped in two. She casually tossed the two broken pieces into a nearby trash can, her movements as elegant as if she were discarding a piece of actual trash. "Stay away from her from now on," she said, looking at me, her tone brooking no argument. I wanted to explain, but words felt so utterly useless at that moment. She suddenly reached out, once again smoothing my wind-mussed collar. Her touch was gentle, but her eyes held a clear warning. "Ethan Miller, remember my words. You are mine. I don't like other people touching my things." Her fingertips brushed my neck, sending a chill that made that spot on my skin feel as if it had been burned. "Get in the car." She said no more, turning toward a black sedan parked at the curb. It was her car, understated yet luxurious. The driver had already respectfully opened the back passenger door. I hesitated for a moment, then followed. Defying her now was clearly not a wise move. The car's interior was spacious, filled with her unique, cool fragrance. We sat side by side in the back seat, but she kept looking out the window, not at me. The atmosphere was so oppressive it was hard to breathe. I secretly glanced at her profile. Her features were graceful, her nose high, her lips a natural rose. They were tightly pressed now, betraying her displeasure. Why did you come down?" I ventured, breaking the silence. She slowly turned her head, her gaze resting on my face. If I hadn't come down, how would I have witnessed such an exciting scene? Her tone held a faint hint of sarcasm. Ethan Miller." She cut me off, her voice soft. "Do you think I'm too domineering?" I was speechless. How was I supposed to answer that? Say yes, and she'd be unhappy. Say no, and it would be a lie. Seeing my silence, she gave a soft laugh. There was no discernible emotion in it. "Perhaps." She turned her head, looking out the window again. "But that's just who I am. Why set my sights on I must have? No one else will take it from me." Her voice was light, as if she were talking to herself, yet it clearly reached my ears. I looked at her perfect profile, a whirlwind of emotions inside me. This woman, like her name, Sterling, was outwardly cold and hard, but within her lay an unknown obsession. And now, that obsession was clearly aimed at me. The car didn't drive back to my place. Instead, it headed directly to the city's most upscale residential area, the Pinnacle Towers. It was the gift she'd mentioned in her office, the place she demanded I move into with her. The car pulled into a private spot in the underground parking garage. Blair Sterling got out first, heading for the exclusive elevator to the penthouse. I silently followed behind her. The elevator ascended slowly, the numbers flickering. In a confined space, it was just the two of us. She stood in front of me, her back straight and elegant. The powerful aura she exuded silently enveloped the entire space. Ding! The elevator reached the penthouse. The doors opened. What greeted us was an incredibly spacious living room, decorated in a minimalist modern style, primarily black, white, and gray, exuding understated luxury everywhere. Beyond the massive floor-to-ceiling windows stretched the sprawling city, a spectacular view. "This is your home now," Blair Sterling said, walking to the center of the living room and turning to face me. "Do you like it?" I looked around, my feelings complex. It was magnificent, better than I could have imagined. But all of this was built on an unequal footing. "Blair, I really think we need to talk properly." I took a deep breath, deciding to be clear about the divorce. I said, "It's not happening." She walked to the wine cabinet, poured 2 glasses of red wine, and handed one to me. "Try it. It's your preferred vintage." I paused. How did she know what kind of red wine I liked? In our 3 years, we'd almost never had a drink together, let alone discuss such personal preferences. Seeing my hesitation, she raised an eyebrow. "What? Afraid I've poisoned it?" As she spoke, she took a sip herself. Then she walked over to me and pressed the glass into my hand. "Don't worry. If I want you, I'll do it in a much more straightforward way." Her fingertips brushed my hand, a hint of challenge in her touch. I held the wine glass, looking at her face so close to mine, my heart inexplicably quickening. "Why me?" I finally asked the biggest question in my heart. "Blair, with your qualifications, you could have any man you want. Why are you so insistent on keeping me?" She looked at me, her eyes deep. "Because." She leaned in slowly, her red lips almost touching my ear. Her warm breath brushed my earlobe. "You're different." Her voice was seductive. "In these 3 years, You've never actively asked me for anything. Even knowing my status, you've always maintained an appropriate distance. Unlike others, who either fear me or covet what I possess. Her fingers gently stroked my cheek. Her touch is light, yet it made me completely stiffen. Ethan Miller, you make me feel very comfortable. So, I can't bear to let you go. I looked at the almost obsessive possessiveness in her eyes, my throat tightening. But this isn't fair, I managed to say. It's not fair to you, Blair. You could have better options instead of tying me down. Fair. She chuckled softly, as if she'd heard something amusing. In matters of the heart, there's no such thing as fair. She stepped back, raised her wine glass, and swirled it under the light. The red liquid swayed in the glass, refracting a mesmerizing glow. I want you. That's enough. As for your thoughts. She looked at me, her eyes filled with determination. I'll make you change them, slowly, until the day you willingly stay by my side. I looked at her, suddenly realizing this woman was even more stubborn than I'd imagined. And even more dangerous. This wasn't a whim. She was serious, and she was prepared for a long battle. I lowered my gaze to the swirling red wine in my glass, my mind a mess. My once clear future had suddenly become shrouded in mist, and it all stemmed from this beautiful, dangerous woman before me. What she wanted, it seemed, was more than just a nominal husband. It was more than I could imagine. You'll stay here tonight. She set down her wine glass and walked toward the bedroom. I'll have someone pack your things and send them over tomorrow. Wait, I quickly called out to her. I haven't agreed. She paused at the bedroom door, looking back at me. A knowing smile played on her lips. You will agree, Ethan Miller. It's only a matter of time. With that, she entered the bedroom and closed the door, leaving me alone in the vast living room, staring blankly at the city lights outside. Still holding the glass of red wine she'd handed me. The aroma was rich and intoxicating, just like her, knowing the danger, yet still unable to resist the urge to draw closer. I tilted my head back and drained the glass. The cool liquid slid down my throat, but it ignited a strange fire deep inside my heart. Blair Sterling. That name, from today on, was likely to write an entirely different chapter in my life. The morning sunlight streamed through the enormous floor-to-ceiling windows, casting dappled shadows on the floor. I woke up in the guest room bed. The unfamiliar surroundings made me pause for a few seconds before I realized where I was. This was the Pinnacle Towers, Blair Sterling's territory. I had ended up staying here last night, not out of compromise, but because I simply couldn't argue with her arrangements. She hadn't even given me a chance to go back to my own place and pack. In her words, if you need anything by new, those old things don't suit the current you. It was infuriatingly domineering. I rubbed my slightly throbbing temples and got out of bed. When I reached the living room, I found breakfast already laid out on the dining table. A simple Western-style meal with fresh juice, looking exquisite and appetizing. Blair Sterling was sitting at the table, holding a financial newspaper. Today she wore a light gray business suit, her hair pulled back, revealing her elegant, pale neck. In the morning light, the lines of her profile softened somewhat, losing some of their usual coolness. Awake, she put down the newspaper and looked up at me. Come out breakfast. Her tone was so natural, as if we had been a married couple for years. I hesitated, then walked over and sat opposite her. Did you make all this? I asked, a little surprised. A high-flying woman like her, who never lifted a finger in the kitchen, actually cooked? The chef did, she replied coolly, pushing a glass of juice towards me. I only know how to fry eggs. If you want, I can make them for you tomorrow. The way she said tomorrow was so matter-of-fact that I didn't know how to respond. She seemed to have simply assumed I would be living here permanently. I silently ate my breakfast. It tasted good, but I had little appetite. Any plans for today? She suddenly asked. I had initially planned to say I'd go back to my place to pack, but remembering her attitude yesterday, I swallowed the words. Haven't decided yet. Then come with me somewhere, she said, gracefully wiping her mouth with a napkin. Where to? I asked cautiously. You'll see when we get there. She gave a coy answer, a hint of mystery in her eyes. After breakfast, I rode in her car to the city's most exclusive shopping center. This was a true luxury paradise, with flagship stores of all the top brands. Blair Sterling was clearly a regular here. A manager immediately greeted her upon entry. "Welcome, Blair." The manager bowed respectfully, his gaze lingering on me for a moment with just the right amount of curiosity. "And this gentleman?" "My husband, Ethan Miller," Blair introduced, naturally taking my arm. Her touch was gentle, yet it carried an undeniable firmness. My body stiffened slightly, but I didn't pull away. Causing her embarrassment in this setting wasn't a smart choice. The manager's eyes flashed with surprise, but he quickly regained his professional smile. "Mr. Miller, a pleasure to finally meet you." "Welcome." I forced a smile in response. Blair seemed pleased with my cooperation, her grip on my arm tightening slightly. "I'm here to pick out some clothes for my husband today," she told the manager. "Excellent. Please follow me. We've already prepared the VIP lounge for you." The manager bowed and led the way. The VIP lounge was large and luxuriously decorated, with soft cushions on the sofas. Soon, several assistants wheeled in racks overflowing with various men's clothing. From suits to casual wear, shirts to accessories, everything was there. "These are all the latest seasonal items, prepared according to the sizes you provided, Blair," the manager said respectfully. I looked at Blair surprised. She knew my sizes? In these 3 years, though we were nominally married, we'd had almost no intimate contact. How'd she know my measurements? Blair offered no explanation. Instead, she rose and walked to the clothing racks, carefully browsing. Her fingers lightly brushed garment after garment, her gaze focused. This one, and that dark blue suit. Bring them all down for him to try on." She instructed, her tone brooking no argument. The assistants immediately took down the clothes she selected and handed them to me. I looked at the clearly expensive items, feeling a bit hesitant. "Go on," Blair said, looking at me, her eyes gentle yet urging. "See if they fit." Under the watchful eyes of the assistants and manager, I reluctantly took the clothes and went into the fitting room. The first outfit was a meticulously tailored dark gray suit. When I emerged, I distinctly felt Blair's eyes light up. She walked to me, reaching out to adjust my collar. Her movements were natural and intimate. "It fits perfectly," she nodded slightly, her gaze sweeping over me. My judgment was indeed correct. Her tone held a hint of satisfied amusement. I tried on several more outfits. She scrutinized each one, occasionally stepping forward to adjust something herself. Her fingertips would sometimes brush my skin, sending a subtle sensation. "I'll take all of these," she finally said, pointing to the 7 or 8 outfits I tried on, addressing the manager. "Of course, Blair." The manager beamed. "Wait," I quickly interjected. "That's too many. I won't wear all of them." "It's not too many," Blair said coolly. "Different occasions require different attire. As the husband of Sterling CEO, your clothing reflects on me." Her words left me speechless. The manager quickly processed the transaction, and the clothes were packed up to be delivered directly to the apartment. Leaving the clothing store, Blair took me to a watch boutique. She picked out a limited edition men's watch, its price astonishing. "This suits you perfectly." She picked up the watch, took my wrist, and personally fastened it on me. Her fingers were cool, and when they touched my skin, my heart skipped a beat. "It's too expensive. I can't accept it." I tried to refuse. "If I say it suits you, it suits you." She held my hand, preventing me from taking the watch off, her gaze firm. "Wear it. It looks good." Her tone was soft, yet it carried an unchallengeable authority. In the end, that exorbitantly priced watch remained on my wrist. It felt heavy, like an invisible handcuff. Over the next few hours, she bought me leather shoes, ties, cufflinks, practically completing my entire wardrobe of men's accessories. I felt like a puppet, let her dress me up. A knot of frustration tightened in my chest, but I had nowhere to vent it. By the time we left the shopping center, it was already afternoon. I carried a few shopping bags, and though most items would be delivered directly home, she insisted I carry some myself. In her words, "It makes it feel more like a shopping trip." I looked at her unusually relaxed profile and suddenly thought this woman had such a girlish side to her. "Tired?" She noticed my gaze and turned to ask. "I'm fine." I averted my eyes. "Then let's go get some coffee," she said, pointing to a high-end coffee shop nearby. "I have an appointment." "An appointment?" I paused, and before I could ask, she was already heading toward the coffee shop. The coffee shop had an elegant ambience, the air filled with a rich aroma of coffee. At a window-side table, a woman was already seated. She saw us and immediately stood up, a warm smile on her face. "Blair, over here." When I clearly saw the woman's face, my heart sank. It was Chloe Vance. How was she here? Blair's appointment was with her? What was going on? I instinctively looked at Blair, but she seemed perfectly composed, as if everything was under her control. "Chloe, have you been waiting long?" Blair greeted her with a smile, walking towards the table with my arm still linked in hers. Her gesture was natural and intimate, like a declaration of ownership. Chloe Vance's gaze lingered on our intertwined arms for a moment, her smile stiffening slightly. "No, I just arrived." Her eyes shifted to me, her expression complex. "Mr. Miller, it's good to see you again." I nodded, saying nothing. In this situation, the less said, the better. We sat down, and a server quickly came to take our order. Blair ordered a latte for me, then an Americano for herself. She even remembered what kind of coffee I liked. This realization made my mood even more complicated. "Blair, what brings you out for coffee today?" Chloe Vance asked with a smile, though her eyes occasionally darted towards me. "Just shopping with Ethan, and thought I'd meet up with you while I was out." Blair's tone was relaxed and natural, and the affectionate nickname made me intensely uncomfortable. "Ethan? When did she start calling me that?" Chloe Vance's expression visibly stiffened. "Ethan? You two really are quite devoted, aren't you?" Her tone carried a hint of sourness. "Of course." Blair reached over and covered my hand, her fingertips lightly stroking it. "Our relationship has always been great, hasn't it?" She looked at me, her eyes hinting for me to play along. I could only manage a cooperative smile, not denying it. Chloe Vance's face grew even paler. "Speaking of which, Chloe, I heard you're looking for new partners recently." Blair suddenly changed the subject, her tone still light, but her eyes sharpened. "That project we discussed, you seem to have some other ideas about it?" Chloe Vance's expression immediately became cautious. "Blair, you misunderstand. I was just exploring the market." "Is that so?" Blair gently stirred her coffee, her movements elegant. "That's good, then." She looked up, her gaze fixed on Chloe Vance. "I hope our collaboration can proceed smoothly, without being affected by any unnecessary factors." Her words were pointed, her gaze subtly sweeping towards me. Chloe Vance instantly understood her meaning, her face paling. "Of course I understand." She managed a forced smile, picked up her coffee, and took a sip, masking her discomfort. I watched the subtle tension between the two women, understanding perfectly. Blair was subtly warning Chloe Vance, using the collaboration project as leverage to tell her to stay away from me. It was domineering but effective. Sure enough, for the rest of the conversation, Chloe Vance was much more reserved, no longer looking at me with ambiguous glances. But her occasional looks at Blair held a hint of barely concealed jealousy and resentment. Halfway through our coffee, Blair's phone rang. She glanced at the caller ID, frowning slightly. "Excuse me, I need to take this." She rose and walked aside to answer. Only Chloe Vance and I remained at the table. The atmosphere immediately became awkward. "Mr. Miller," Chloe Vance suddenly said, lowering her voice. "Blair certainly goes to great lengths for you." Her tone was laced with sarcasm. I didn't respond, just silently drank my coffee. "But are you really content?" She leaned in closer, her voice even softer. Being controlled by her like this, like a golden canary in a cage. My grip on the coffee cup tightened. "That's none of your concern, Ms. Vance," I replied coldly. "How? Is it not my concern?" She gave a soft chuckle, her eyes challenging. "I just feel it's not fair to you. A man like you deserves a much wider sky, not to be trapped by one woman, an accessory to her." Her words were like a thorn, piercing the most sensitive part of my heart. But I didn't show it. "Ms. Vance, you're overthinking things." I put down my coffee cup, my voice calm. "This is my own choice." Chloe Vance paused, seemingly surprised by my response. Just then, Blair finished her call and returned. She keenly sensed the unusual atmosphere, her gaze flickering between us. "What were you two talking about so intently?" She sat back down, naturally taking my hand. "Nothing." I quickly replied. Just discussing the coffee. Blair glanced at me, her eyes deep, but didn't press further. Chloe, we have to go now. She stood up, still holding my hand. I've already paid the bill. Chloe Vance managed a stiff smile. All right then, next time. Her gaze lingered on me one last time, with a hint of reluctance and regret. Blair pulled me out of the coffee shop, her grip on my hand somewhat tight. Not until we were in the car did she release it. What did she say to you? She turned to me, her eyes sharp. Nothing. I avoided her gaze. Really, she clearly didn't believe me. Ethan Miller, I don't like being deceived. Her tone chilled. I sighed. She just said she felt it wasn't fair to me, that she thought I was being controlled by you. I told her honestly, not wanting to lie about this. Blair was silent for a moment. Then, she suddenly gave a soft laugh. And what do you think? She leaned in close, her gaze directly into my eyes. Do you really think I'm controlling you? Her breath brushed my cheek, carrying the rich aroma of coffee. I looked at her face, so close to mine, and was momentarily speechless. Controlling me? Maybe. But everything she did, though domineering, was also aimed at keeping me. This conflicting feeling left me agitated. I don't know. I answered honestly. She stared at me for a while, then suddenly pulled back, sitting up straight again. It's all right, she said, starting the car, her voice calm. I'll make you understand. What I feel for you is never control. Her fingers lightly tapped the steering wheel, her eyes firm. It's possession. Pure, 100% possession. The car merged into traffic, the scenery outside flashing by. I looked at her focused profile as she drove, my heart a mix of emotions. Possession. That word was more direct than control, and also more dangerous. It meant that, in her heart, I was already her property, not to be coveted by others, nor to be allowed to escape. The expensive watch on my wrist reflected the glaring sunlight, like an invisible shackle, firmly chaining me to her side. And I, it seemed, was already beginning to get used to this restraint. When we returned to the Pinnacle Towers, dusk had already fallen. The city's neon lights blinked on, streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows into the living room, casting colorful shadows on the floor. Blair Sterling kicked off her heels the moment she walked in, padding barefoot on the soft carpet. This small gesture made her seem less sharp than usual, adding a touch of domestic languor. What do you want to eat? She walked to the open-plan kitchen, looking back at me. I had the chef prepare ingredients. I can whip up something simple. I looked at her, a little surprised. You cook. I know the basics, she said, opening the refrigerator and taking out some vegetables and meat. Living alone for so long, you have to learn to take care of yourself. Her tone was flat, but I detected a hint of loneliness. In these 3 years, though we were nominally married, I had never truly concerned myself with her life. Now, it occurred to me that living alone in this vast apartment, she might not have been as glamorous as she appeared. Need any help? I walked to the kitchen doorway. No, she said, tying on an apron and expertly beginning to prepare the ingredients. You go rest. It'll be ready soon. But I didn't leave. Instead, I leaned against the doorframe, quietly watching her. Her knife skills were precise and practiced, not like a beginner's. The warm yellow light shone on her, bathing her in a soft glow. In this moment, she wasn't the formidable CEO, but just an ordinary, beautiful woman. What is it? She noticed my gaze and looked up at me. Nothing. I averted my eyes. Just a little surprised. Surprised I can cook? She chuckled softly, with a hint of self-deprecation. Yeah, I admitted honestly. Do you think I'm just some high-maintenance socialite who doesn't know how to cook? She asked, her voice light. No, I didn't mean that. I tried to protest, but found myself at a loss for words. Because before this, I actually had thought that. She didn't press further, instead turning her attention back to cooking. Soon, the aroma of food filled the kitchen. A simple 3-course meal with soup, perfectly presented and unexpectedly delicious. We sat opposite each other at the dining table, the atmosphere unusually peaceful. How does it taste? She asked, looking at me, a hint of anticipation in her eyes. It's really good. I praise sincerely. Better than many restaurants. Her lips curved upward, a genuine smile gracing her face. It wasn't her usual formal smile, but one of true joy. This discovery made my heart skip a beat, so she could be happy with a simple compliment. After dinner, I offered to do the dishes. She didn't refuse, instead sitting on the living room sofa, turning on the TV and idly flipping through channels. As I stood at the sink, listening to the TV in the background, a strange illusion washed over me. It was as if we were truly an ordinary couple, living the everyday domestic life. This illusion filled me with a touch of panic. I shook my head, trying to banish the dangerous thought. After finishing the dishes, I returned to the living room. Blair was leaning back on the sofa, eyes closed, resting. The TV played financial news, but she didn't seem to be watching. I hesitated, wondering whether to go back to the guest room or say something. "Sit down," she said suddenly, her eyes still closed. "Keep me company while I watch TV." I sat on a single sofa beside her. The living room was quiet, save for the steady voice of the news anchor. "There's a business gala tomorrow night. You'll come with me," she said abruptly. I paused. "What kind of gala?" "An industry networking event. Many company executives will be there." She opened her eyes and looked at me. "You need to attend as my husband." There was that unyielding tone again. "Can I say no?" I tentatively asked. "No," she replied, quick and decisive. "Why not?" I was a little perplexed. "The agreement's over. I'm not obligated to keep up the charade." "Charade?" She raised an eyebrow slightly, stood up, and walked to me, looking down at me. "Ethan Miller, do you really think I'm still putting on an act with you?" Her eyes were sharp, with a hint of displeasure. "Aren't you?" I looked up, meeting her gaze. "We started as a transaction. Now that the transaction is over, why are you still tying me down?" "Because I don't want it to end." She leaned forward, placing her hands on the sofa arms, trapping me between her and the sofa. "I told you you're mine. This lifetime, you're mine." Her breath brushed my cheek, carrying the faint scent of red wine. "That's not fair," I managed to say. "You haven't asked for my consent." "Consent?" She chuckled softly, then reached out to gently stroke my cheek. "You will consent." Her fingertips were cool, yet the sensation was unusually clear. "I'll make you willingly stay by my side." Her voice was soft, but imbued with certainty. "What makes you so confident?" I couldn't help but ask. "Just this." She suddenly leaned down and pressed a soft kiss to my lips. It was a fleeting touch, but it left me completely frozen. My mind went blank. In 3 years, we'd never had any intimate contact. Even holding hands was just for show in public, let alone a kiss. This sudden kiss completely scrambled my thoughts. "You?" I stared at her, unsure how to react. "This is how a married couple should be, isn't it?" She straightened up, a triumphant smile on her lips. "Tomorrow night at 7, I'll have a stylist come to the apartment. Be ready to be my date." She turned and walked to the bedroom, her steps light. She paused at the doorway, looking back at me. "Good night, Ethan." That intimate nickname again made me uncomfortable. Not until the bedroom door closed did I slowly come back to myself. My fingers unconsciously touched my lips. The soft sensation lingered, along with the faint scent of red wine. This woman, she always found the most unexpected ways to throw me off balance. I spent the entire next day in a strange state of mind. Blair Sterling went to work, as usual, leaving me alone in the apartment with nothing to do. The chef came on time to clean and prepare meals, treating me with utmost respect, as if I truly were the man of the house. At 5 in the afternoon, the stylist arrived promptly. He was a fashionably dressed young man named Kevin, with 2 assistants and several large suitcases. "Mr. Miller, a pleasure to meet you. I'm Kevin, Blair's stylist. Just call me Kevin." He greeted me warmly and began fussing with my face and hair. An hour later, I looked in a mirror and barely recognized myself. A perfectly tailored black suit, expertly styled hair. I looked completely transformed. Even I had to admit, Blair's I was indeed sharp. The suit perfectly accentuated my figure, making me look tall and distinguished. At exactly 7 o'clock, Blair Sterling returned to the apartment. Tonight she wore a wine-red, off-the-shoulder gown that made her skin look like snow. Her long hair was swept into an elegant updo, revealing her slender neck and delicate collarbones. A diamond necklace sparkled at her throat under the lights. She was breathtakingly beautiful. When she saw me, her eyes visibly lit up. "It suits you perfectly," she said, walking to me and reaching out to adjust my tie. Her movements were natural and intimate. "You look stunning, too," I said sincerely. This made her lips curve upward, a genuine smile appearing. Shall we go? She took my arm. The gala was held in the ballroom of the city's most luxurious hotel. As we walked in hand, we immediately drew everyone's attention. Blair Sterling was already a focal point, but attending with her husband made her the absolute center of attention. I could feel countless gazes on us, curious, envious, and even jealous. Blair moved gracefully, my arm in hers, chatting and mingling with various business elites. She maintained an elegant, poised smile, occasionally leaning in to whisper to me, her posture intimate. "Relax," she murmured. "Just pretend you're here to enjoy dinner." I forced a smile, trying to look more natural, but these formal events always made me uncomfortable. "Blair, is this your husband? You make a handsome couple." A middle-aged man holding a drink walked over, greeting us with a smile. "You're too kind, Mr. Henderson," Blair replied with a graceful smile. "This is Ethan Miller." She introduced me. "Ethan, this is Mr. Henderson from Henderson Industries." I politely shook hands and exchanged pleasantries. Similar scenes repeated constantly. Blair navigated the crowd with ease, while I, like an exhibit, was introduced to one stranger after another. Everyone would eye me curiously, then offer some polite compliments. This made me deeply uncomfortable. "I need to use the restroom," I whispered to Blair. She glanced at me, seeming to sense my discomfort, and nodded slightly. "Come back quickly." I escaped the suffocating atmosphere and walked out onto the ballroom's terrace. The night breeze was cool, refreshing my senses. The terrace was quiet, a stark contrast to the lively chatter inside. I leaned against the railing, gazing at the city lights in the distance, letting out a long sigh. "Why are you out here alone?" A familiar voice came from behind. I turned and saw Chloe Vance walking towards me, holding 2 champagne flutes. Tonight she wore a royal blue evening gown, her makeup exquisite, making her equally eye-catching. "It was too stuffy inside. Came out for some air," I replied coolly. "Here." She handed me a glass of champagne. "Thanks." I took it but didn't drink. Not used to these kinds of events. She leaned against the railing beside me, turning her head to look at me. "Not really," I admitted honestly. "Understand," she chuckled softly. "Blair is just like that. She always likes to impose her will on others." Her words carried a clear intent to provoke. I didn't engage, just quietly gazed at the city lights. "Do you know," she suddenly leaned in closer, lowering her voice, "this gala was originally going to feature me as a guest speaker, but Blair pulled some strings and had my spot canceled." I paused, turning to look at her. "Why? Why?" She gave a sarcastic laugh. "Because of you, of course." Her eyes deepened. "She was afraid I'd get close to you in such a public setting, so she simply took away my chance to be on stage." I frowned. "That's impossible." "Impossible." She scoffed. "Ethan Miller, you don't know Blair at all. She'll stop at nothing to get what she wants, including destroying other people's opportunities." Her words were like a thorn, piercing my heart. Although I didn't want to believe it, given Blair's personality, it was certainly possible she'd do something like that. "She's just that controlling." Chloe Vance continued to fan the flames. "You must be experiencing it firsthand by now, right?" I tightened my grip on the champagne glass, saying nothing. "Actually, I can help you," she suddenly said. "Help you with what?" I asked cautiously. "Help you leave her." Her voice dropped even lower. "If you're willing, I can arrange for you to go abroad, somewhere she'll never find you." Here. Shucks. I hadn't expected her to suggest something like this. "Why?" I asked, confused. "Why would you help me?" "Because I can't stand her controlling you like this." Her eyes were sincere. "And also," she paused, a blush rising to her cheeks, "I have strong feelings for you, Ethan Miller. I can't bear to see you trapped by her side." This direct confession caught me off guard. "Ms. Vance, No need to rush your answer," she interrupted, pulling a business card from her handbag and pressing it into my hand. "Think it over and contact me." She leaned in, whispering in my ear, "I'll be waiting for you anytime." With that, she didn't wait for my response, turned, and left the terrace. She left me alone, clutching the burning business card, my mind in turmoil. "So you're here." Blair Sterling's voice suddenly came from behind. I jumped, instinctively stuffing the business card into my pocket. When I turned, she was already standing in front of me. "Why were you out here so long?" She scrutinized me, her eyes sharp. It was stuffy inside. I stayed out a little longer. I tried to make my voice sound calm. She stared at me for a moment, then suddenly reached out and touched my cheek. You don't look so good. Her fingertips were cool, yet the sensation was unusually clear. I'm fine. I tried to avoid her touch. This subtle movement seemed to spark her suspicion. Her gaze fell on my suit pocket. It was slightly bulging, the business card I'd just shoved in. What's in your pocket? She asked softly. My heart plummeted. My heartbeat abruptly accelerated. That business card felt like a burning coal, scalding the skin inside my pocket. Blair Sterling's gaze was too sharp, as if it could pierce through fabric and see what was inside. Nothing. I instinctively stepped back half a pace, trying to evade her scrutinizing eyes. Just a tissue. The excuse was so clumsy, even I didn't believe it. Blair Sterling raised an eyebrow slightly, a faint, knowing smile playing on her lips. Is that so? She took a step forward, closing the distance between us again. The night wind rustled the stray hairs at her temples, and her wine-red gown shimmered softly under the lights. She was breathtakingly beautiful, but also dangerously so. Let me see. She extended her hand, her fingertips gently reaching towards my suit pocket. Her movements were slow, implying no refusal. I abruptly grabbed her wrist, stopping her. Blair, there are a lot of people here, I whispered, trying to divert her attention. The glass doors of the ballroom were open, and I could vaguely hear laughter and chatter from inside. Occasionally, someone would walk towards the terrace and, seeing our ambiguous posture, would discreetly turn back. Blair Sterling let me hold her wrist. She didn't try to pull away. Her gaze remained fixed on my pocket, her eyes deep and unreadable. Why are you so nervous? She asked softly, her other hand stroking my tie, gently adjusting it. Her movements were intimately suggestive, like flirting, but her tone carried a dangerous undertone. I'm not nervous. I forced myself to meet her gaze, trying to stay calm. I just think it's not appropriate to have a scene in this kind of setting. She gave a soft chuckle, her fingertips tracing my tie, finally stopping at my chest. Then tell me, what did Chloe Vance say to you just now? My heart plummeted. She saw Chloe Vance and me together? Just a chance encounter. We said hello. I tried to make my voice sound calm. A chance encounter? She tilted her head slightly, her eyes laced with sarcasm. What a coincidence. She was also on the terrace. There are always a lot of people on the terrace for fresh air at these galas, I argued, my palms starting to sweat. Is that so? She leaned forward, her red lips almost touching my ear. Her warm breath brushed my earlobe, sending a shiver through me. Then why was she leaning so close to you? Her voice was soft, but it was like an icy needle piercing my heart. And why did she slip something into your pocket? I froze completely. So she saw everything, from Chloe Vance approaching me, to slipping me the business card, to whispering in my ear. She saw it all. Blair, let me explain. Explain what? She straightened up, her eyes suddenly turning cold. Explain how you're secretly having rendezvous with other women behind my back. I'm not. I quickly denied it. She came to me. Enough. She cut me off, her voice icy. Take out what's in your pocket. Her tone was absolute, with a coldness I'd never heard before. I knew there was no hiding it this time. After a moment of hesitation, I finally pulled the business card from my pocket. A plain white card, with Chloe Vance's name and private number printed on it. It looked glaringly bright under the lights. Blair Sterling took the business card, glanced at it, and a chilling smile curved her lips. A private number? She lightly ran her finger along the edge of the card, her eyes dark and unreadable. Looks like she's quite smitten with you. I didn't speak, knowing that any explanation now would only make things worse. She stared at the business card for a few seconds, then slowly looked up, her gaze fixed on me. Tell me, how should I deal with this? Her voice was soft, yet it carried a heart-stopping danger. Blair, it's just a business card. I was going to throw it away anyway. I tried to ease the tension. Throw it away? She gave a soft chuckle, her eyes sharp as knives. And then what? Wait for her to find another opportunity to get close to you. She took a step forward, almost pressing against me. Ethan Miller, do you think I'm stupid? How could you? Then why do you challenge my bottom line again and again? Her voice suddenly rose, carrying suppressed anger. I've given you chances. Why won't you understand? She gripped the business card tightly, her knuckles white from the force. You are mine from the inside out, from head to toe, you are mine. Her eyes held a frantic possessiveness that sent a chill through me. No one can covet you, and no one is allowed to touch you. She abruptly tore the business card in half, then again and again, until it was confetti. With a flick of her hand, the paper scraps scattered, carried away by the night wind. This is the first time, and it's the last time, she said, staring into my eyes, enunciating each word. If I ever see you having any contact with her again, I don't know what I'll do. Her threat was stark and direct, sending shivers down my spine. In that moment, I clearly realized that Blair Sterling's obsession with me ran far deeper than I had imagined, and it was far more dangerous. We should go back, she said, suddenly calm, as if her previous outburst had never happened. She reached out to adjust my tie and collar, her movements as gentle as if she were handling a precious treasure. The gala isn't over yet. As one of the hosts, we can't be away for too long. Her quick change of demeanor left me unable to adapt. I could only let her take my arm, leading me back into the ballroom. Inside, the lights were still brilliant, the chatter lively. Blair Sterling had her elegant, composed smile back on, conversing and laughing with guests. It was as if the distraught woman on the terrace had been a figment of my imagination. But the lingering pressure on my wrist and her occasional deep glances at me reminded me that it was no dream. Halfway through the gala, the host invited Blair Sterling to give a speech. She released my arm, gently patting my hand. Wait for me here. Her eyes held a warning. Don't wander off. I nodded, watching her walk gracefully onto the stage. The spotlight shone on her, making her wine-red gown shimmer. She stood at the microphone, composed, and began her speech. Her voice was clear and melodious, her words articulate. The entire room fell silent, everyone listening intently. This was Blair Sterling, always the most radiant presence, no matter the occasion. Mr. Miller, a soft female voice suddenly sounded beside me. I turned and saw a young woman in a pale purple gown. She looked to be in her early 20s, with delicate features and a gentle demeanor. You are. I was a little puzzled. I didn't recognize her. I'm Emily Davis from Davis Enterprises, she said with a warm smile, handing me a business card. I've heard so much about you, Mr. Miller. It's an honor to finally meet you. I took the card, offering a polite smile. Can I help you, Ms. Davis? Nothing in particular, she said, a faint blush on her cheeks, her eyes shy. I just felt we had a connection, and I wanted to make a friend. This approach immediately put me on high alert. After the Chloe Vance incident, I was wary of any woman who approached me. I apologize, but my wife isn't very fond of me making casual friends. I politely declined, deliberately emphasizing the word wife. Emily Davis's expression stiffened, but she quickly regained her composure. Blair certainly cares a lot about you, Mr. Miller, she said softly, her gaze subtly flickering towards Blair on stage. However, couples should have their own social circles, shouldn't they? Her words were probing, making me even more cautious. That's a matter between my wife and me, Ms. Davis. No need for you to concern yourself, I replied coolly. She seemed surprised by my directness, pausing for a moment. Then she showed a hurt expression. Mr. Miller, you misunderstand. I didn't mean anything else. She lowered her head, her voice sounding a little wounded. I just really admire you, Mr. Miller, and wanted to get to know you better. This vulnerable posture might have evoked sympathy in other men, but for me now, it just caused a headache. Another problem. Thank you for your kindness, Ms. Davis, but it's truly not convenient for me. I reiterated my clear refusal. She looked up, a hint of reluctance in her eyes. Then at least take my business card, she said softly. Perhaps one day, Mr. Miller, you'll change your mind. With that, without waiting for my response, she turned and walked away, leaving me holding the business card, caught between a rock and a hard place. If Blair saw me take it, who knew what kind of commotion it would cause? But throwing it away felt too rude. Just as I hesitated, Blair's speech ended. Amidst applause, she descended the stage and walked directly towards me. Her gaze immediately fell on the business card in my hand. Her eyes instantly turned cold. It seems I can't even leave you alone for a moment, she said, standing in front of me, her voice calm, but with suppressed anger. Who is this now? I sighed, knowing I couldn't explain this away either. Emily Davis from Davis Enterprises. She just came to say hello. I handed her the business card. You can deal with it. Blair took the business card, glanced at it, and scoffed. Emily Davis? The Davis heiress. Her eyes were laced with sarcasm. Even she's joining the fray. She folded the business card, then tore it in half. Her movements were swift and decisive, without a hint of hesitation. You certainly are popular, Mr. Miller. She looked up at me, a cold smile on her lips. I just stood here and did nothing, I said helplessly. Did nothing? She took a step forward, almost pressing against me. Then why do you always attract these flies? Her voice was low, with a grinding undertone of frustration. Enough. She cut me off, reaching out to cut my cheek. Her touch was gentle, yet her eyes were unusually cold. It seems I need to put a more obvious mark on you, to let everyone know you're taken. Her fingertips gently traced my jawline, sending a shiver through me. I didn't understand what she meant, but I had a bad feeling. She suddenly stood on tiptoe and gently bit my neck. It wasn't hard, but enough to leave a clear mark. I gasped in pain. What are you doing? I instinctively tried to push her away, but she gripped my collar tightly, not letting me retreat. Making a mark, she said, looking at the bite mark, a satisfied smile on her face. That way, everyone will know who you belong to. Her eyes held a frantic possessiveness that made my heart pound. You're crazy. I looked at her in disbelief. Yes, I am crazy, she said, gently stroking the bite mark, her eyes distant. From the moment I decided to keep you, I was already crazy. Her fingertips were cold, sending a shiver when they touched my skin. So, don't test my patience anymore, Ethan. Otherwise, I don't know what else I might do. I looked at her face, so close to mine, and for the first time, I truly felt fear. This woman was genuinely unhinged. Her obsession with me had gone beyond normal boundaries, becoming a pathological possession, and I, it seemed, had no escape. After the gala, we drove back to the apartment in silence. Blair Sterling seemed to be in a good mood, humming an unknown tune, a stark contrast to my heavy heart. Tomorrow, I'm taking you somewhere, she suddenly said before we went to bed. Where? I asked cautiously. You'll see when we get there, she smiled mysteriously. Get some rest. We have to wake up early tomorrow. She walked into the bedroom and closed the door, leaving me alone in the living room, my mind a mess. The bite mark on my neck still throbbed faintly, like a brand, marking ownership. I went to the bathroom and checked the mark in a mirror. Clear teeth marks, flushed red on my skin. Tomorrow, it would probably turn purplish blue, even more noticeable. This realization made my mood even heavier. Blair Sterling did this on purpose. She wanted everyone to see this mark, to declare her ownership over me. I turned on the faucet, splashing cold water on my face, trying to calm down. But the bite mark in the mirror constantly reminded me that I had become her caged bird, trapped in this opulent prison with nowhere to run. The next morning, I was woken by my phone ringing. An unfamiliar number flashed on the screen. After a moment of hesitation, I answered. Mr. Miller? This is Emily Davis. A soft female voice came through, instantly making me fully awake. Ms. Davis? How did you get my number? I instinctively lowered my voice, glancing at the tightly closed bedroom door. I got it from a friend, she chuckled softly. We met so briefly last night, we didn't get to talk properly. Are you free for coffee today? I'm sorry. It's not convenient. I directly refused. Don't be so quick to refuse. Her voice was a little playful, with a hint of a pout. I know a very quiet coffee shop. No one will bother us. Ms. Davis, I think I made myself clear last night. My tone chilled. I know, but she paused, her voice suddenly sounding hurt. I'm just very worried about you. Worried about me? I frowned. Yes, last night I saw Blair. She trailed off. I saw the mark on your neck. How could she do that to you? My heart sank. So she saw it too? That's none of your business, I said coldly. How is it not my business? Her voice suddenly became agitated. I can't stand to see someone I like treated like that. Ethan, I know you're not happy with her. I can help you. Ms. Davis, I interrupted her. Please show some respect. My wife and I's business does not require outside interference. With that, I hung up the phone. My heart was pounding in my chest. What was wrong with these women? One after another, they were like bees to honey, impossible to get rid of. Whose call was that? The bedroom door suddenly opened, and Blair Sterling stood there. She wore a silk nightgown, her long hair disheveled, but her eyes were sharp as knives. She had clearly overheard the conversation. Wrong number. I instinctively hid my phone behind my back. This action clearly didn't fool her. She slowly walked to me, extending her hand. Give me your phone. Blair, it really was a wrong number. Give it to me. Her tone was absolute. I sighed, knowing I couldn't hide it, and handed her the phone. She opened the call log, saw the unfamiliar number, and her eyes instantly turned cold. Emily Davis? She looked up at me, a cold smile on her lips. It seems last night's lesson wasn't impactful enough. She pulled out her own phone and dialed the number. Assistant Kevin, cancel all cooperative projects with Davis Enterprises. Yes, cancel them all. Reason? Tell them the Davis heiress doesn't understand boundaries and touched someone she shouldn't have. She hung up the phone and tossed it back to me. Her actions were fluid and decisive, without a hint of hesitation. Are you crazy? I looked at her in disbelief. Because of one phone call, you're canceling all cooperation? What else? She tilted her head to look at me, her eyes dangerous. Let her continue to harass you. She just made a phone call. I tried to reason with her. If you don't stop at once, there will be a second time, a third time. She gently traced the bite mark on my neck. Until she thinks she can snatch you away from me. Her fingertips were cool, bringing a stinging pain when they touched the wound. I wouldn't. You would. She cut me off, her eyes deep. Because you're such a gentle person, you never know how to refuse. Her fingers slid from my neck to my cheek. So, I must remove these obstacles for you. Anyone who tries to get close to you, I will make them pay. I looked at the frantic possessiveness in her eyes and suddenly felt a wave of helplessness. This woman was incorrigibly obsessive. Get ready. We're going out. She retracted her hand and turned towards the bathroom. We're meeting someone important today. Who? I instinctively asked. My father. Her answer left me stunned. Mr. Sterling? The formidable founder of Sterling Enterprises who dominated the business world? In these 3 years, I had never met him. Blair Sterling seemed to deliberately avoid letting me interact with her family. Why was she suddenly taking me to see him now? An hour later, we drove to the Sterling family estate. The car entered a heavily guarded residential community, finally stopping in front of an ancient, traditional American-style mansion. Blair Sterling took a deep breath, showing a rare hint of nervousness. She reached out to adjust my tie, her fingertips trembling slightly. When we meet father, speak little, and follow my lead, she instructed softly. I nodded, my heart growing even more puzzled. Entering the mansion, the butler greeted us respectfully. Blair, your father's waiting for you in his study. He glanced at me, his eyes complex. This must be your husband. Blair Sterling tightened her grip on my hand. Yes, Mr. Jenkins. How is father's mood? Mr. Sterling is in a good mood today, the butler smiled. He specifically asked for your husband's favorite tea to be prepared. I paused. Mr. Sterling knew what tea I liked. Blair Sterling also seemed a little surprised, but quickly regained her composure. Let's go. She led me towards the study. The study was large, decorated in an antique style. A vigorous old man sat behind a mahogany desk, practicing calligraphy. He looked to be in his early 60s, with white hair, sharp eyes, and a naturally commanding presence. This was Mr. Richard Sterling, a legendary figure in the business world. Father, Blair Sterling said softly. Mr. Sterling put down his brush and looked up at us. His gaze first rested on Blair, with affection. Then it turned to me, scrutinizing me from head to toe. His eyes were sharp, as if they could see through a person's soul. So this is Ethan Miller? His voice was resonant, carrying the authority of long-held power. Yes, father, Blair Sterling gripped my hand. I brought him to see you. Mr. Sterling stood up and walked towards me. He was slightly shorter than me, but his presence was overwhelming. 3 years, and you finally decide to bring him for me to meet? His words were directed at Blair Sterling, but his gaze remained fixed on me. The timing wasn't right before, Blair Sterling explained softly. And now it is? Mr. Sterling raised an eyebrow. Because I heard you two aren't getting a divorce anymore. My heart lurched. How'd he know? Blair Sterling was clearly also surprised, but quickly composed herself. Yes, father. We've decided to stay together. Oh, mister. Sterling looked at me meaningfully. Is this a mutual decision? I felt Blair Sterling's hand tighten slightly. She was nervous. Yes, I spoke up. This is a mutual decision. At this moment, I couldn't undermine her. Mister. Sterling stared at me for a while, then suddenly smiled. Good, very good. He patted my shoulder. Sit down, try the tea I brewed. We sat at a nearby tea table. Mister. Sterling skillfully brewed the tea, his movements fluid. I hear you prefer long jing? He handed me a cup of tea. Yes, thank you, sir. I accepted it with both hands. Still, sir? He raised an eyebrow. Time to change that. I paused, looking at Blair Sterling. She nodded slightly. Thank you. That. The address felt a little awkward. Mister. Sterling smiled with satisfaction. Blair, that girl, has always been strong-willed since she was young, he said slowly. Her mother passed away early, and I was busy with work, so I rarely paid attention to her. So she got used to handling everything by herself. He looked at Blair Sterling, his eyes showing a hint of guilt. 3 years ago, she suddenly said she wanted to get married, and I was very surprised. Even more surprised that she chose an ordinary man with no background. My fingers tightened slightly. I had you investigated, Ethan Miller. Mister. Sterling's words sent a jolt through my heart. Clean background, good character. Most importantly, he paused meaningfully. The way Blair looks at you is different from how she looks at anyone else. I looked at Blair Sterling in surprise. She had her head down, her earlobes slightly flushed. These 3 years, watching you two maintain a respectful distance, I was very anxious. Mister. Sterling sighed. I know what that girl was thinking. She was afraid emotional involvement would cloud her judgment, so she preferred to maintain a sham marriage. But now, she's finally come around. He smiled, relieved. So, I support your decision. Blair Sterling looked up, her eyes filled with pleasant surprise. Thank you, father. Don't thank me so fast, mister. Sterling's expression turned serious. Since you've decided to be together, you must treat each other well. He looked at me. Ethan Miller, she's my only daughter. She might be headstrong, she might be domineering, but she genuinely cares for you. I hope you'll cherish her. I looked at his earnest gaze, unsure how to respond. Genuinely cares for me? Did Blair Sterling truly care for me, or was it just pathological possessiveness? I could only offer a vague promise in the end. Mister. Sterling seemed to read my thoughts, but didn't press the point. All right, you young people go for a walk in the garden, he waved his hand. Blair and I have some company matters to discuss. I discreetly rose and left. Guided by the butler, I arrived at the garden. The Sterling garden was vast, filled with various rare plants. I walked along the stone path, my emotions complex. Mister. Sterling's words still echoed in my ears. He said Blair Sterling genuinely cared for me. Was that possible? That strong, domineering, intensely possessive woman? Mr. Miller. A gentle female voice suddenly came from behind. I turned and saw a young woman in a pale blue dress. She was pushing a wheelchair in which sat a kindly elderly woman. You are. I was a little confused. I am Dr. Rachel Chun, the Sterling family's physician. She introduced with a smile. And this is Mrs. Sterling, Blair's grandmother. My heart lurched. Blair Sterling's grandmother? I'd never heard her mention her. Hello, Grandma. I greeted respectfully. The elderly woman looked up, her cloudy eyes scrutinizing me. So, you're the husband Blair's been hiding for 3 years. Her voice was old, but carried authority. Yes, Grandma, I said, a little nervous. The elderly woman stared at me for a moment, then suddenly smiled. Good, you're a good boy. She gestured to Dr. Chun. Push me closer. Let me get a good look. Dr. Chun pushed the wheelchair closer. The elderly woman reached out and took my hand. Her hand was thin, covered in wrinkles, but surprisingly strong. Blair, that child, has suffered, she said softly. Lost her mother young, and her father was busy with work. She had to pretend to be very strong. Her eyes showed tenderness, but I could see she wasn't happy. Not until you appeared. I froze. It was the first time I saw her care so much about someone. The elderly woman smiled. 3 years ago, she came to me and said she wanted to marry you. I asked her why, and she said. She paused, imitating Blair Sterling's tone. Grandma, the moment I saw him, I knew he could only be mine. My heart pounded. Blair Sterling had said those exact words to me. That child is so much like her grandfather. The elderly woman's eyes became distant. When he was pursuing me, he was just as domineering. We all thought Blair would never fall in love until you appeared. She patted my hand. Treat her well, child. She may have trouble expressing herself, but she truly loves you. There was that phrase again. Blair Sterling loved me? I stared at the elderly woman, speechless for a moment. Grandma, what are you talking about? Blair Sterling's voice suddenly came. She walked quickly towards us, showing a rare, nervous expression. Talking about you, the elderly woman said with a kind smile. You had such a good husband, and only now bring him to meet me. Blair Sterling sighed in relief, walking to my side and naturally taking my arm. Well, I brought him back now, didn't I? Her tone was teasing. This was a Blair Sterling I'd never seen before, shedding all pretense like a normal young girl. All right, I won't disturb you two lovebirds. The elderly woman smiled, gesturing to Doctor Chin to push her away. Remember to visit Grandma often. We will, Blair Sterling promised softly. After they had gone, Blair Sterling finally released my arm. Her expression reverted to her usual calm. What did Grandma say to you? She asked, feigning casualness. Nothing. I avoided her gaze. Just idle chatter. She stared at me for a moment, then didn't press further. Father has agreed to us being together. She changed the subject. From today on, you are the legitimate son-in-law of the Sterling family. Her tone held satisfaction. So, I looked at her. So, stop thinking about leaving me. She reached out to gently caress my cheek. This lifetime, you can only be mine. Sunlight streamed through the gaps in the leaves, casting dappled shadows on her face. Her eyes were still obsessive, but now held a deeper affection I couldn't quite decipher. I suddenly remembered Grandma's words. She may have trouble expressing herself, but she truly loves you. Perhaps Blair Sterling's feelings for me were more complex than I'd imagined. After returning from the Sterling family estate, life seemed to settle into a new calm. Blair Sterling was no longer as constantly watchful as before, giving me a little breathing room. But the bite mark on my neck was still visible, a constant reminder of that night's intensity. This afternoon, I was strolling alone in the park near the apartment. The sun was pleasant, a gentle breeze on my face, letting me temporarily forget my worries. Ethan Miller, Professor? A familiar voice came from behind me. I turned and saw Natalie Green standing nearby. She wore a simple, elegant dress, her eyes a little red, looking rather pitiful. Natalie Green? I instinctively took a step back, looking at her cautiously. Don't be nervous. I just wanted to apologize. She walked quickly to me, her voice choked. Because of my rashness, Sterling Enterprises canceled all cooperation with Green Industries. She lowered her head, her shoulders trembling slightly. My father was furious. He chewed me out fiercely. Looking at her like this, I felt a little bad. Although she had approached me, Blair Sterling's retaliation had been truly ruthless. It's not your fault, I said softly, trying to comfort her. Blair overreacted. No, it's my fault. She looked up, tears in her eyes. I shouldn't have had improper thoughts about you. Ethan Miller. Her tears streamed down her cheeks, making her look particularly vulnerable. I just couldn't control my feelings. She suddenly grabbed my hand. From the first time I saw you, Professor, I fell for you. I was startled, trying to pull my hand away, but she held on tighter. Ms. Green, please let go, I said, my voice hardening. No, let me finish. She looked at me anxiously. I know this is wrong, but I really can't stand to see you treated like that by Blair Sterling. Her gaze fell on the bite mark on my neck, her eyes full of concern. How could she hurt you like that? That's between her and me. I forcefully pulled my hand away. Please don't interfere anymore. But I love you. She suddenly raised her voice, drawing glances for passers-by. From the first time I saw you at that business dinner 3 years ago, I loved you. Her words left me stunned. 3 years ago, you and Blair Sterling had just gotten married then, and I was sitting at the table next to yours, she recounted, her eyes distant as she reminisced. You were so gentle, so much a gentleman, polite to everyone. And Blair Sterling, she didn't cherish you at all. She was always so cold. She wouldn't even spare you a smile. Her emotions grew more agitated. These 3 years, watching you two drift apart, I felt both pain and relief. Pain because you weren't happy, and relief because you would eventually separate. She grabbed my hand again. Now that the agreement is up, why don't you leave her? She controls you, hurts you like that. Why do you still stay by her side? I looked at her frantic eyes and suddenly understood something. Those anonymous letters, were they from you? For the past 3 years, I'd occasionally received anonymous letters. They all hinted that Blair Sterling had other men, advising me to leave her soon. I had always thought it was malicious slander from business rivals. Now it seemed they were probably all Natalie Green's doing. She paused, then admitted, I wrote them. I couldn't stand to watch you be kept in the dark by her anymore. She doesn't deserve you. She's a cold, heartless woman. Enough. I sharply interrupted her. I know what kind of person Blair is better than anyone. No, you don't, she retorted excitedly. Do you know what she's been doing behind your back? She pulled out her phone and showed me a picture. Look at this. The photo showed Blair Sterling and an unfamiliar man sitting in a coffee shop. They were very close, seemingly deep in intimate conversation. The man's hand was even resting on Blair Sterling's hand. My heart sharply constricted. When was this taken? I heard my voice tremble. Last Wednesday afternoon, Natalie Green watched my expression closely. Just when she was proclaiming her love for you, she was secretly meeting another man. Last Wednesday, Blair Sterling had indeed come home late that day, saying there was an urgent company matter. Was she actually on a date with another man? Who was this man? I forced myself to calm down. Daniel Hayes, the heir of Hayes Corporation. Natalie Green put her phone away. Sterling Enterprises is currently discussing a major project with Hayes Corporation, and Blair Sterling, to secure the partnership, didn't hesitate to use her charms. Her words were like a knife, sharply stabbing my heart. Impossible. I murmured. Blair isn't like that. You're still defending her? Natalie Green looked at me in disbelief. The evidence is clear. How long will you keep deluding yourself? She grabbed my arm. Wake up, Ethan Miller. She doesn't love you. She's just using you. I shook off her hand, stepping back a few paces. My mind was a mess. Was Blair Sterling really deceiving me? Were those passionate confessions, those domineering declarations, all just an act? Ethan, leave her, Natalie Green softly persuaded. Come with me. I'll give you true love. She approached me again. I'll cherish you more than Blair Sterling ever would. What are you two doing? A cold voice suddenly cut in. Natalie Green and I both turned simultaneously. Blair Sterling stood nearby, her face terribly grim. Well, had she arrived? How much had she heard? Blair. I instinctively tried to explain, but she didn't even look at me, walking directly to Natalie Green. Ms. Green, it seems your previous lesson wasn't enough. Her voice was soft, but carried a chilling threat. Natalie Green visibly flinched, but quickly straightened her back. Blair, I'm just telling Ethan the truth. The truth. Blair Sterling raised an eyebrow. What truth? The truth about you and Daniel Hayes' meeting. Natalie Green said loudly. Can you deny it? Blair Sterling's eyes instantly sharpened. She turned to me, her gaze icy. Do you believe her? I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. That photo flashed incessantly in my mind. Blair Sterling watched my reaction, her eyes gradually dimming. Very well, she chuckled softly, with a hint of self-deprecation. So that's what you think of me. She no longer looked at me, turning back to Natalie Green. Ms. Green, this is my final warning. Her voice was terrifyingly calm. Stay away from my husband. Otherwise, I won't hesitate to make Green Industries disappear from this city. Natalie Green's face instantly went pale. You can't do that. You can try me. Blair Sterling took a step forward, looking down at her. See if I can. Natalie Green, terrified by her, stumbled back a few steps, almost falling. You'll regret this. She flung the words at us and fled in a panic. Only Blair Sterling and I were left in the park. The atmosphere was so oppressive, it was suffocating. She stood with her back to me, her shoulders trembling slightly. Was she angry? Or was she sad? Blair. I softly called her name. She slowly turned, her eyes holding a wounded expression I'd never seen before. You distrust me that much. Her voice was soft, with a hint of a catch. I had never heard her speak in such a tone. That photo. It's a matter of perspective, she cut me off. Daniel Hayes was indeed pursuing me, but I explicitly rejected him. She pulled out her phone and played a video. I specifically brought my assistant to that meeting and recorded the entire thing. In the video, Blair Sterling and Daniel Hayes sat opposite each other. There was indeed a female assistant sitting nearby, recording with her phone. Daniel Hayes tried to touch Blair Sterling's hand, but she quickly pulled away. Blair, I truly like you. Daniel Hayes confessed earnestly in the video. I'm sorry, I'm already married. Blair Sterling's tone was cold. That contract husband. Daniel Hayes scoffed dismissively. Everyone knows it's a sham marriage. You'll divorce when the 3 years are up. Who said that? Blair Sterling's voice suddenly turned cold. I won't divorce Ethan. Never. Her tone was decisive. I love him. The video ended there. I stared blankly at the phone screen, my heart pounding. She really said it. In front of someone else, she admitted she loved me. Do you believe me now? Blair Sterling put her phone away, her eyes still holding that wounded look. I didn't know what to say. I felt ashamed of my distrust. I'm sorry, I whispered. She looked at me, remaining silent for a long time. Her eyes held complex emotions, disappointment, sadness, and a hint of determination I couldn't decipher. Let's go home, she finally sighed softly, turning and walking towards the apartment. She didn't take my hand as she usually did. This realization inexplicably tugged at my heart. Back at the apartment, she went directly into the bedroom and closed the door. She didn't say a word to me. I stood in the living room, feeling more helpless than ever. The Blair Sterling I knew, no matter how angry, would always assert her ownership in some way, either by domineering possession or obsessive control. But she had never, until now, completely ignored me. This indifference was worse than any punishment. That night, she didn't come out for dinner. I sat at the dining table, facing a spread of exquisite dishes, with no appetite. The chef looked worriedly towards the bedroom. Mr. Miller, Blair. It's all right, let her be. I forced a smile. After dinner, I hesitated, then knocked on the bedroom door. No response. I gently pushed the door open. Only a bedside lamp was on in the bedroom. Blair Sterling sat on the bed, hugging her knees, her face buried in her arms. Her shoulders shook slightly. Was she crying? This realization sent a sharp pang through my heart. The always strong, always calm Blair Sterling was crying. Blair. I softly called her name. She looked up, her face indeed tear-streaked. Her eyes were red and swollen, looking incredibly vulnerable. Get out, she said coldly, her voice still thick with tears. Let's talk. I walked to the bed. There's nothing to talk about. She turned her face away. You'd rather believe a stranger than me. Her voice held a deep sense of grievance. I apologize. I sat on the edge of the bed. I was wrong. I shouldn't have doubted you. She was silent for a moment, then slowly turned to look at me. Ethan, do you know? Her eyes held a profound weariness. I can endure your resistance. I can endure your indifference. But I cannot endure your distrust. Her tears fell again. If even you don't believe me, what's the point of everything I do? Looking at her vulnerability, my heart felt squeezed by something. For the first time, I realized that this seemingly powerful woman also had such a soft side, and all her possessiveness and domineering behavior, perhaps, stemmed from an inner insecurity. I'm sorry. I reached out and gently wiped away her tears. I won't doubt you again. She stared at me, her eyes uncertain. Really? Really? I promised softly. She suddenly threw herself into my arms, hugging me tightly. Don't lie to me. She buried her face in my chest, her voice muffled. If you lie to me again, I'll really give up on you. The threat had no real force, instead sounding like a plea. I couldn't help but smile, gently holding her close. Okay. In that moment, something subtly changed. My feelings for her no longer felt like mere resignation and resistance. Ever since the misunderstanding in the park was cleared, Blair Sterling's attitude towards me had subtly shifted. She was still domineering, still possessive, but there was an added, barely perceptible tenderness. For example, in the mornings, she would personally brew coffee for me, even if the taste was questionable. Or in the evenings, she would wait to have dinner with me, no matter how late she worked. These small details, like spring rain, silently permeated my life, making me begin to get used to her presence. One afternoon, I receive an unknown call. Ethan Miller, Professor? This is Natalie Green. A lively female voice came through the phone. Natalie Green? I tried hard to search my memory for that name. You probably don't remember me, but I was your junior in college, she enthusiastically explained. Back in the drama club, you played the prince, and I played Cinderella. I remember now. I had indeed joined the drama club in college and acted in a few plays. Natalie Green was 2 years my junior, and we had indeed worked together. Hello, Natalie. I replied politely. I can't believe you still remember me. Professor, she said happily. I just moved back to the city recently, and I'm a reporter for a finance magazine. I heard you married the CEO of Sterling Enterprises. Could I schedule an exclusive interview? I paused. An exclusive interview? My marriage to Blair Sterling had always been a media focal point, but we had never given any interviews. That might not be very convenient. I politely declined. Don't be so quick to refuse, she pouted playfully. Just half an hour. I promise not to ask any sensitive questions. She paused, her voice suddenly dropping. Actually, I have a personal request. What kind of request? I asked cautiously. It's not convenient to talk about it on the phone. Could we meet in person? She pleaded. Just this afternoon, at a coffee shop near your place. It won't take up too much of your time. I hesitated. Thinking of Blair Sterling's extreme reactions to women approaching me, I instinctively wanted to refuse. But Natalie Green was just a college junior. It sounded like she genuinely had something important to discuss. All right, I finally agreed. 3 o'clock this afternoon, at the coffee shop across from the Pinnacle Towers. Great. Thank you, Professor. She happily hung up the phone. I put down my phone, feeling a little uneasy. I hoped this meeting wouldn't cause any misunderstandings. At 3 o'clock that afternoon, I arrived at the coffee shop on time. Natalie Green was already waiting at a window side table. She wore a business suit, her hair tied in a ponytail, looking efficient and lively. Professor, she waved happily when she saw me. I walked over and sat opposite her. Long time no see, Natalie. It has been 5 years already. She scrutinized me, her eyes bright. You haven't changed at all, Professor, still so handsome. I smiled, not responding to the compliment. You said you had a personal request. What is it? I cut straight to the chase. Her expression suddenly turned serious. Actually, I'm here to warn you, Professor. Warn me? I frowned. About Blair Sterling, she lowered her voice. Are you aware of Sterling Enterprises' recent financial crisis, Professor? I was stunned. Financial crisis? Blair Sterling had never mentioned it to me. What financial crisis? It seems you really don't know, Professor, she sighed. Sterling Enterprises recently suffered an investment failure, and its capital chain is facing severe problems. She pulled out a document from her bag and handed it to me. This is internal information I've gathered. Sterling is on the verge of collapse. I opened the document, growing more alarmed with each page. It detailed Sterling Enterprises' recent losses, which indeed looked dire. Where did you get this information? I asked cautiously. I'm a finance reporter. I have my own channels. She put the document away. I'm telling you all this because I'm worried about you, Professor. Worried about me? Blair Sterling is desperately trying to maintain appearances, but she's practically at her breaking point, she said seriously. I'm afraid she'll drag you down with her. I remained silent. If this was true, then Blair Sterling's recent actions made sense. Her cancellation of the cooperation with Green Industries, perhaps it wasn't due to jealousy, but financial pressure? Her meeting with Daniel Hayes, perhaps it really was to secure investment? Professor, while there's still time, leave her. Natalie Green took my hand. I don't want to see you get dragged down. I pulled my hand away, looking at her calmly. Why are you telling me all this? Her eyes flickered. Because I like you, Professor. She suddenly confessed. I've liked you since college. I froze. I was too scared to confess back then, and I don't want to miss my chance again. She looked at me deeply. Professor, will you give me a chance? Natalie, I'm married. I reminded her. I know, but isn't your marriage fake? She said anxiously. The 3-year agreement expired. You were supposed to get a divorce. Who told you that? I frowned. The agreement was strictly confidential. How did she know? She paused, then explained. There are no secrets in this circle. Many people know your marriage is just for show. Her answer was watertight, but I still felt something was off. No matter what others say, Blair and I are truly married now. I stood up. Thank you for the warning, but I believe Blair can handle company matters. Professor, she quickly grabbed me. Please reconsider. Blair Sterling doesn't deserve you. Whether she deserves me or not is for me to decide. I shook off her hand. Please don't contact me again. With that, I turned and left. Walking out of the coffee shop, my emotions were complex. Natalie Green's words echoed in my ears. Was Sterling Enterprises really in crisis? Why hadn't Blair told me? Back at the apartment, Blair Sterling was already home. She sat on the living room sofa, a pile of documents in front of her. Her brow was furrowed, looking deeply troubled. You're back. She looked up at me, managing a weak smile. Why so early today? I walked over and sat beside her. Nothing at the company, so I came back early to be with you. She closed the documents, seemingly not wanting me to see their contents. This action made me even more suspicious. Blair, is something wrong with the company? I asked directly. Her expression stiffened. Why do you ask? I heard Sterling Enterprises is facing some difficulties recently. I probed. Her eyes instantly sharpened. Who told you? Natalie Green. I looked at her in surprise. How did she know? You've been spying on me? I asked, incredulous. I was just worried about you, she said calmly. Natalie Green isn't a good person. Stay away from her. You investigated her? I frowned. Of course, she said as if it were obvious. Anyone who gets close to you, I need to know their background. This level of possessiveness made me uncomfortable. Blair, we're married. You should trust me. I trust you, she took my hand. But I don't trust them. Her eyes were filled with an obsessive intensity. Those women, every single one of them wants to snatch you away from me. Natalie is just a college junior. Junior, she scoffed. She wrote you a love letter in college. Did you know that? I paused. What love letter? It seems you've forgotten. She pulled a letter from a drawer. I found this when I was checking her background. I took the letter. It was indeed Natalie Green's handwriting, filled with youthful adoration, dated 7 years ago. What does this prove? I handed the letter back to her. It proves she has ulterior motives for you, she said coldly. She's been secretly in love with you since college, and now she's finally found a chance to get close to you. She even deliberately moved back to the city for you. Her eyes grew colder and colder. This kind of obsession is more terrifying than Emily Davis's. I looked at the madness in her eyes, suddenly feeling helpless. No matter what I explained, she wouldn't believe it. In her mind, every woman who approached me had ulterior motives. Let's not talk about that. I changed the subject. Tell me, what exactly happened with the company? She was silent for a moment, then finally sighed. There are some difficulties, but I can handle it. What's the specific problem? I pressed. Investment mistakes, cash flow problems, she said lightly. How much capital do you need? I asked. That's not something you need to worry about, she patted my hand. Don't worry. I've already found a solution. Her smile was a little forced. I looked at her, trying to be strong, my heart inexplicably aching. This woman always shouldered everything alone. Even to the people closest to her, she wouldn't reveal a hint of vulnerability. Blair, we're married, I said, looking at her seriously. We should face difficulties together. She stared at me, a flicker of emotion in her eyes. You really think that? Of course. I held her hand. Tell me, what can I do? She was silent for a long time, so long that I thought she wouldn't answer. Then, she suddenly threw herself into my arms, hugging me tightly. Just be with me. She buried her face in my chest, her voice muffled. As long as you're by my side, I'm not afraid of anything. My heart softened at her words. I gently hugged her back. In this moment, all suspicion and unease vanished. Only my concern for her remained. I'll always be with you, I promised softly. She looked up, her eyes bright with surprise. Really? Even if I go bankrupt and become penniless? Really? I smiled and nodded. Then I'm relieved. She leaned back into my arms, a satisfied smile on her lips. But don't worry, I won't go bankrupt. Her voice regained its usual confidence. Sterling Enterprises won't fall, and I won't let you live a difficult life. I looked at the familiar sparkle in her eyes, finally feeling at ease. This was the true Blair Sterling. Always strong, always unyielding. All right, come with me to a charity gala tomorrow night, she suddenly said. Another gala? I felt a headache coming on. A very important event, she smiled mysteriously. You'll see when we get there. Her smile held a certain hidden meaning that subtly unsettled me. But seeing the anticipation in her eyes, I still nodded. Okay, I'll go with you. She happily kissed my cheek. That's great. I love you, Ethan. This affectionate nickname made my ears burn. Looking at her radiant smile, I suddenly felt that even with more difficulties ahead, as long as she was by my side, there was nothing to fear. This thought surprised even me. I didn't know when it started, but my feelings for her had quietly changed. From resistance to acceptance, from acceptance to falling in love. The process was so fast, it caught me off guard. Yet, it felt entirely natural. The charity gala was held in the city's most luxurious hotel ballroom. Crystal chandeliers cast dazzling light, and elegant jazz music flowed through the air amidst the mingling of well-dressed guests. Blair Sterling was exceptionally radiant tonight. She wore a silver-white mermaid gown. Her long hair swept into an exquisite updo, and the diamond necklace at her throat sparkled under the lights. But most notably, her eyes glittered with excitement and anticipation, as if she held a secret. What's so special about tonight? I couldn't help but ask her in a low voice. She tightened her grip on my arm, a mysterious smile playing on her lips. You'll see in a bit. We moved through the guests, with people constantly coming up to greet us. Blair Sterling handled it with ease, but her gaze occasionally darted towards the entrance, as if waiting for someone. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. They're here. I followed her gaze and saw a middle-aged couple walking into the ballroom. The man had an impressive bearing, and the woman was gentle and elegant. They looked somewhat familiar, but I couldn't place where I'd seen them before. Who are they? I asked. Blair Sterling didn't answer. Instead, she pulled me and quickly walked towards the couple. Mr. and Mrs. Miller, she greeted politely, her voice carrying a rare hint of nervousness. Mr. and Mrs. Miller? I froze, unable to believe my ears. I scrutinized the couple and finally recognized them. They were my parents, the parents I hadn't seen in 3 years. Dad? Mom? My voice trembled. How are you here? My mother's eyes instantly welled up, and she came forward to take my hand. Ethan, it's been a long time. My father stood by, watching me with a complex expression. How did you two come here? I was still in shock. Blair invited us, my mother said, looking at Blair Sterling, her eyes filled with gratitude. She said she had something important to announce tonight. I turned to look at Blair Sterling. She was smiling, watching us. Her eyes were gentle and firm. What exactly are you planning? I whispered to her. She just lightly squeezed my hand, not answering. Halfway through the dinner, the host invited Blair Sterling to the stage. She released my arm, adjusted her gown slightly. Wait for me, she murmured, then gracefully walked on the stage. The spotlight shone on her, making her appear to glow. Distinguished guests, thank you all for coming tonight. Her voice carried through the microphone, filling the entire ballroom. Before we begin tonight's charity auction, I have something important to announce. The whole room fell silent, everyone looking at her curiously. My heart inexplicably tightened. She took a deep breath, her gaze fixed directly on me. First, I want to apologize to someone. Her voice carried genuine emotion. 3 years ago, due to family pressure, I bound him to an agreement, limiting his freedom. I took advantage of his kindness and had him play along in a charade for 3 years. Whispers broke out in the ballroom. I stared at her, stunned, not understanding why she was saying all this publicly. But in these 3 years, I unknowingly fell in love with him. Her voice was clear and firm. I fell in love with his gentleness, his tolerance, everything about him. My mother gripped my hand tightly, tears in her eyes. My father's expression also softened. So, when the agreement expired, I selfishly kept him by my side. Blair Sterling continued, tears glistening in her eyes. Using all sorts of methods, even hurting him. Her gaze fell on a now faded bite mark on my neck, filled with guilt. But now, I want to start over in the right way. She slowly walked off the stage, coming towards me. The spotlight followed her the entire way. All eyes in the room were focused on us. She stopped in front of me, knelt on one knee, and took out a velvet box from her handbag. She opened it. Inside was an exquisite men's ring. Ethan Miller, will you give me a chance? She looked up at me, her eyes filled with anticipation and nervousness. Let me spend the rest of my life making it up to you, loving you, cherishing you. Will you truly marry me? The room erupted in gasps. I looked at her in shock, my mind blank. I had never imagined she would propose to me like this, in front of so many people. Blair, I'm serious. She clutched the ring box tightly, her fingertips trembling slightly. I know I have many flaws. Domineering, obsessive, controlling. But I'll change. For you. I'm willing to change. Her voice was choked. I only ask that you give me a chance. I looked at her, kneeling before me, my heart pounding. In that moment, all hesitation and unease vanished. Only overwhelming emotion remained. I will. I heard my voice say, clear and firm. Blair Sterling's eyes instantly brightened, as if filled with starlight. She trembled as she slipped the ring onto my finger. It fit perfectly, as if custom-made. A round of warm applause filled the room. My mother wiped away tears nearby, and my father also smiled, relieved. Blair Sterling stood up and threw herself into my arms. Thank you, Ethan, she whispered in my ear. Thank you for giving me this chance. I held her tightly, filled with an unprecedented sense of contentment. In that moment, I truly realized that I had, without knowing it, already fallen in love with her. I loved this domineering, yet vulnerable woman. After the gala, we drove my parents back to their hotel. As we said goodbye, my mother held Blair Sterling's hand. Blair, I'm entrusting Ethan to you, she said kindly. He seems gentle, but he's actually very stubborn. You two need to be patient with each other. I will, Mom. Blair Sterling nodded obediently. That address made my mother beam. My father patted my shoulder. Treat Blair well, he said, unusually gentle. She's a good girl. I looked at my father in surprise. 3 years ago, he strongly opposed this marriage, believing I was marrying Blair Sterling for money. We had a huge argument over it and hadn't spoken in 3 years. Now, he was actively acknowledging our relationship. Dad, thank you, I said sincerely. He nodded, his eyes showing a sense of release. On the way back to the apartment, Blair Sterling held my hand tightly, as if afraid I'd run away. How did you think of finding my parents? I asked, voicing my confusion. Because I wanted their blessing, she said softly. I know that these past 3 years, you've had a difficult relationship with your family because of me. Her eyes showed guilt. I didn't want our marriage to always have a rift. My heart softened at her words. It turned out she had been quietly considering my feelings all along. And this, she handed me a document envelope. What's this? I took it puzzled. Open it and see. I opened the envelope. Inside was a share transfer agreement. Blair Sterling had transferred 30% of her shares in Sterling Enterprises to my name. I looked at her in shock. What are you doing? This is my dowry for you, she said, smiling. From now on, you're the second largest shareholder in Sterling Enterprises. This is too valuable. I can't accept it. I quickly refused. You must take it. She held my hand, her eyes firm. This isn't just a gift. It's a promise. From now on, Sterling Enterprises is our shared property. We'll share fortune and adversity. Her tone was serious. And with these shares, you'll never feel like you're dependent on me again. I stared at her, a complex mix of emotions welling up inside me. She had even considered my self-esteem, using this method to give me equal standing with her. Blair, you don't need to do this, I said softly. I know you love me. That's enough. It's not enough, she shook her head. I want to give you the best of everything, including respect and equality. She leaned on my shoulder. From this day forward, we are truly husband and wife, sharing everything, facing the future together. I looked at her serious expression and finally nodded. Okay, I'll accept it. She smiled happily, like a little girl. Back at the apartment, she was still excited. She twirled around the living room, her silver white gown shimmering under the lights. I'm so happy, Ethan. She threw herself into my arms. You finally completely belong to me. I wrapped my arms around her waist, looking down at her. What about you? Do you belong to me? Of course, she answered without hesitation. From beginning to end, I only belong to you. Always have, always will. Her eyes were sincere and ardent. I couldn't resist leaning down to kiss her. Unlike the previous soft kisses, this one was filled with intense emotion. She responded passionately, wrapping her arms around my neck. We stumbled into the bedroom. That night, We finally became true husband and wife, body and soul intertwined, with no more barriers. In the morning, I woke up to sunlight. Blair Sterling was sleeping soundly, her head resting on my arm. Her long hair spread across the pillow, her face serene and content. I gently stroked her cheek, an unprecedented sense of peace filling my heart. Perhaps this was fate. That agreement 3 years ago bound us together. 3 years later, today, we finally embraced with true hearts. She slowly opened her eyes, saw me, and gave a sweet smile. "Good morning, husband." That address warmed my heart. "Good morning, wife." I leaned down and kissed her forehead. She nestled contentedly in my arms. "It's so good. Now you're completely mine." Her tone held a triumphant possessiveness. But this time, I no longer felt constrained. Only immense happiness. "Yes, I'm yours," I whispered. "And you're mine." She looked up at me, a mischievous sparkle in her eyes. "Of course, I'll always be yours." Sunlight streamed through the curtains, bathing her silhouette in a golden glow. She was incredibly beautiful. I held her tightly, grateful that fate had brought us together. Even if the journey was winding, the ending was beautiful. That was enough. Married life was sweeter than I could have imagined. Blair Sterling still retained a touch of her domineering nature, but more often, she was like a young woman in love. She would hug me from behind while I cooked, pressing her face against my back. She would lean into my arms while watching TV, demanding I feed her fruit. She even secretly texted me during meetings, saying she missed me. These small changes filled our daily lives with warmth. This morning, I woke up to find her propped on her elbow, watching me. Her eyes were so tender they could melt. "What are you looking at?" I asked, smiling. "Just admiring how handsome my husband is." She leaned in and kissed me. "Will you come to the office with me today?" "What? Afraid someone will snatch me away." I teased her. "Of course not," she pouted. "I just want you to see what your wife looks like at work." Her eyes sparkled with anticipation. "Besides, you're a company shareholder now. It's time you understood the operations." I thought for a moment, then nodded. "Okay, I'll go with you." She happily jumped out of bed and started choosing clothes. "How about this one? Is it too formal?" She held a dark blue suit against herself. "What about this one? Is the color too bright?" She changed to a light gray suit. I watched her busy herself in the walk-in closet, my heart warm. The formidable CEO, who once moved with such efficiency, now deliberated over what to wear, just to show me her best side. In the end, she chose an ivory suit, elegant and capable. "Let's go, husband." She took my arm, a radiant smile on her face. At Sterling Enterprises, the employees looked surprised to see us walk in hand, but their expressions quickly softened into warm smiles. "Good morning, Blair." "Good morning, Mr. Miller." The receptionist greeted respectfully. Blair Sterling nodded, pulling me into the private elevator. "They seem quite surprised," I said. "Of course they are," she chuckled. The old me never smiled. Now I'm constantly beaming. She leaned on my shoulder. "It's all thanks to you." The elevator reached the top floor, and as the doors opened, her assistant was already waiting outside. "Blair, the morning meeting starts in 10 minutes. The assistant, seeing us, paused for a moment, then regained his professional demeanor. "Mr. Miller, you're here too." "He's joining me at the office today," Blair Sterling said naturally. "Bring me today's schedule." Inside the CEO's office, she immediately switched to work mode. She meticulously reviewed documents and listened to her assistant's report. Her expression was focused, her tone decisive. She was a completely different person from the playful girl at home. I sat on the sofa nearby, quietly watching her. This side of her equally captivated me. When it was time for the morning meeting, she stood up. "Want to come with me?" She held out her hand to me. I took her hand, and we walked into the conference room together. The executives looked somewhat surprised to see me, but no one dared to ask questions. The meeting began, and Blair Sterling listened to reports from various departments. She occasionally interjected with sharp questions, pointing out flaws in the reports. Her presence was commanding, her authority absolute. I watched her strategize, filled with pride. This was my wife. Beautiful, powerful, capable of anything. Halfway through the meeting, the head of marketing was presenting a new project. Blair Sterling suddenly frowned. "These figures are incorrect." She pointed at the projection screen. Market research from last week showed a shift in consumer preferences. Your proposal is 3 months outdated. The head of marketing's forehead beaded with sweat. Blair, these figures were just updated yesterday. Yesterday? Blair, Sterling scoffed. Then let me ask you, how much do you know about our competitors' activities in the past week? Did you pay attention to their new product launches? The head of marketing was speechless. If you can't even keep track of basic market dynamics, how are you running this department? Her voice was as cold as ice. The entire room fell silent. I gently squeezed her hand. She paused, turning to look at me. I smiled and shook my head slightly. She took a deep breath, and her tone softened. Revise this proposal. I want to see it by tomorrow morning. Yes, Blair, the head of marketing said, relieved. After the meeting, we returned to the office. Blair Sterling looked at me, a little embarrassed. Was I too harsh just now? A little, I smiled and nodded. But very impressive. Her eyes lit up. Really? Of course. I put my arm around her waist. My wife, when she's working, is absolutely captivating. She leaned happily into my embrace. Then I'll bring you to the office every day from now on. Sounds good. I leaned down and kissed her. I'm always ready. At lunchtime, we ate in the company cafeteria. Employees whispered when they saw us. Blair actually smiles. And such a sweet smile. Mr. Miller is amazing. He melted the Ice Queen. Blair Sterling, hearing the whispers, didn't get angry. Instead, she tightened her grip on my hand. They're right, she whispered. You are my son. I smiled and fed her a bite of food. Then you have to always revolve around the sun. Of course, she nodded seriously. My whole life, I'll revolve around you. After lunch, we returned to the office. She still had documents to process, so I read a book nearby. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, warm and serene. Occasionally, I would look up and see her focused profile. These moments, simple yet blissful. At 3 in the afternoon, her assistant suddenly knocked and entered. Blair, Ms. Vance would like to see you. Blair Sterling frowned. Which Ms.? Vance? Ms. Chloe Vance, the assistant said cautiously. She says she has something important to discuss with you. Blair Sterling glanced at me, her eyes chilling. Let her in. A moment later, Chloe Vance walked into the office. She looked much more worn, but her eyes were unusually resolute. Blair Sterling, I'm here to apologize, she said, cutting straight to the point. Blair Sterling raised an eyebrow. Apologize? Yes. Chloe Vance took a deep breath. I apologize for my previous behavior. I shouldn't have pursued Ethan, and I shouldn't have tried to sabotage your relationship. Her attitude was very sincere. I'm here today to say goodbye. Goodbye. I was a little surprised. I'm going abroad. She looked at me, her eyes showing a sense of release. To work at an overseas branch. I might not come back. She gave a small smile. Before I leave, I wanted to personally wish you two well. She handed a small gift box to Blair Sterling. A wedding gift. Blair Sterling took the gift box, her expression complex. Why the sudden change of heart? Because I saw the news yesterday, Chloe Vance said softly. The video of you proposing to Ethan is all over the internet now. Her eyes held a hint of envy. Seeing the way you look at him, I understood. You truly love him, far more than I ever could. She turned to me. Ethan, I wish you happiness. Thank you, I said sincerely. I hope you find your happiness too. She smiled, then turned and left. The office returned to silence. Blair Sterling opened the gift box. Inside was a pair of exquisite cufflinks. A card was attached. May your love last forever. She looked at the card, lost in thought. What's wrong? I asked. I suddenly feel I was too petty before, she said softly. To love someone, one shouldn't be so selfish. I took her hand. I like your petty side. She smiled, tears in her eyes. Really, I kissed her hand. Because that way, I know how much you care about me. She threw herself into my arms, hugging me tightly. I love you, Ethan. I love you too, Blair. As the sun set, we walked home hand in hand. The car drove along the bustling streets. She leaned on my shoulder, playing with my fingers. Husband, let's have a baby, she suddenly said. I paused. What made you think of that all of a sudden? I want a baby who's like you and like me. Her eyes sparkled with longing. Preferably a daughter, so you can spoil both of us. I smiled, holding her closer. Okay, whatever you want. She leaned contentedly in my arms. Then we need to work hard. She whispered in my ear, her voice teasing. My ears burned. I gently pinched her cheek. You little temptress. She giggled like a pleased kitten. Back home, the chef had already prepared dinner. We ate like any ordinary couple, chatting and sharing stories from our day, discussing future plans. After dinner, we snuggled on the sofa to watch a movie. She leaned in my arms, occasionally looking up for a kiss, as if she couldn't get enough. Husband, I'm so happy, she whispered. Me too. I stroke her long hair. These 3 years, I never imagined we'd be like this. She looked up at me. I didn't either, I admitted honestly. Back then, I just thought you were domineering and difficult. And now, she asked, blinking. Now I think you're adorable and enchanting. I kissed her forehead, especially when you're jealous. She buried her face in my chest, embarrassed. Don't laugh at me. I have to laugh, I teased. Because you're so cute. She looked up and glared at me, but her eyes were full of laughter. What about you? So many people liked you, but you chose me. Because you're the best, I said seriously. No one is better than you. Her eyes welled up slightly. I'll remember that forever. After the movie, I carried her back to the bedroom. Moonlight streamed through the curtains, bathing the room in a soft, silver glow. She lay on the bed, reaching out to me. Husband, come here. I lay down beside her, pulling her into my embrace. Happy today? She whispered. Happy. I kissed the top of her head. Every day is happy. Then let's always be this happy. She found a comfortable spot in my arms. Okay, always, I softly promised. Late into the night, she slept soundly in my arms. Her breathing was even, her face peaceful. I looked at her quiet, sleeping face, my heart filled with gratitude. Grateful for that agreement that brought her into my life. Grateful for her persistence that made sure we didn't miss each other. Gently kissing her forehead, I closed my eyes. In my dream, I saw us, white-haired and old, still holding hands, smiling at each other. The sun was perfect, time stood still. This was the future I wanted. With her, I had the whole world.